Changes in medicine, technology, currency, and so much more are happening at an exponential rate. So our ability to adapt is either going to make or break us. If you're able to adapt, you'll be able to thrive instead of just surviving or existing. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole: Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented and overwhelmed, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of wholeness, authenticity, and healthy boundaries. I'm a woman in recovery who is also a boundaries coach and speaker. I share raw and honest insights from my own journey and the principles of 12-step recovery. Discover how to set boundaries without guilt or shame, overcome people-pleasing tendencies, manage your emotions effectively, cultivate a stronger sense of self, and build healthier relationships. My approach is raw, honest, and sometimes a lot sweary. I'm an avid beachcomber and a formerly closeted fan of the Hallmark Channel, especially Christmas movies. I wear fingerless gloves almost all year round because my hands are always cold, and I love taking pictures of license plates with my initials BN on them. I don't speak for or endorse any particular 12-step program of recovery. Though I'm a huge fan of 12-step recovery and a member of two such fellowships, I cannot speak for them. If you're ready for real talk and practical tools for transformation, keep listening. This is episode 304, How to Handle Life's Demands Without Losing Your Shit. I'm sharing this topic today, which I got from my meditation teacher, Emily Fletcher. She's the founder of Ziva Meditation. I put a link in the show notes to Ziva. She is an amazing thought leader and has had an enormous influence on my life. And she's really working to help the human race to evolve for what's coming in the future. So I'm going to start by quoting her. And then I'm going to give you my take on what she had to say. So this is, again, Emily Fletcher from Ziva Meditation. Quote, "Have you ever heard of adaptation energy? We define it as your ability to handle a demand or a change in expectation. It's what allows us to be in flow, to surrender attachment to outcome, and accept things as they are." This is an editorial note from me. Sounds like getting into serenity, doesn't it? All right, back to Emily. "It's also the single most important attribute for handling our changing world with success and ease. But if you're out of adaptation energy, well, a lot of us are. Over the past several years, we have been dealing with a non-stop change of our expectations. Years of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm have likely been taking a toll on your nervous system. And if you haven't been refilling your reservoirs every day, it probably feels like you're running on empty. As our demands get bigger and the world changes faster and faster, it is imperative that we fill ourselves up with this ultra valuable energy." That's an end of the quote from Emily. Now it's my turn. Changes in medicine, technology, currency, and so much more are happening at an exponential rate. So our ability to adapt is either going to make or break us. If you're able to adapt, you'll be able to thrive instead of just surviving or existing. Now, before I go further, I want to define adaptation energy again. It's your ability to handle a demand or a change in expectation, your ability to handle your daily demands. Emily talks about adaptation energy in relation to meditation because that's what she teaches. But I'm going to talk about how adaptation energy applies to recovery. When we run out of adaptation energy and we have another demand, our bodies launch into fight or flight mode, which is our stress response. Now, as a reminder, stress is not what's happening to you. It's your reaction to your external demands. That's why two people can be in the same exact situation, and one of them can be calm as a cucumber, and the other one is freaked the fuck out. That's because it's not the situation that causes the stress. It's the person's reaction to the situation that causes stress or not. Now, you cannot control what's happening externally, which I know is something we hammer home in recovery. And that's because it's so, so important and because it's so fucking hard to remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. I can't control that. But you can control how you respond to things. Now, this was absolutely news to me when I got into recovery. I had no idea how much of my time, energy, and effort was going into trying to control everyone and everything around me. And that was why I was so frustrated and exhausted. It wasn't everything that was happening around me, it was my expectation that they should be different and my efforts to control them. I wasn't giving any credence at all to trying to control me. Things like my thoughts that things should be different than they were, or that people should do things my way. Those thoughts are what stressed me out because I was fighting against what was. Now, the example Emily uses to illustrate all of this goes like this. Let's say that you sleep through your alarm on Monday morning, which means you start off your Monday with an unexpected situation. That is, you expected to get up at the regular time and you didn't make it. Not that big of a deal, but you did sap some of your adaptation energy. You head to work and your commute, which normally takes 20 minutes, actually takes you 45 minutes on this particular day. This burns off more adaptation energy and you're late for work. You stop at your regular coffee shop to get some coffee to rev up your system, and there's something wrong with the coffee maker, so they give you chamomile tea instead. Now, on probably any other day, you might be really happy to get chamomile tea, but right now you really need some caffeine, so it pisses you off. Now you've sapped even more of your adaptation energy. You get to work, and not only are you late, but your boss wants to speak with you immediately. You sit down and they say, hey, we're going to have to let you go. And you're like, wait a minute, this is the first time I've ever been late and you're letting me go. So even more of your adaptation energy is sapped. Then you call your partner and leave a voicemail saying, hey, I'm having a really tough day today. I just got fired. Can you please make dinner tonight because I'm really tapped out and I'm just going to need to take care of myself. 20 minutes later, you get a text message from your partner and they say, hey, I know this is really bad timing, but I don't think I can see you anymore. And you text them back and you're like, hey, did you just break up with me on a text message? Now, these are two gigantic, unexpected events that sap a huge amount of your adaptation energy. You go home, and as you're about to climb into bed to get under the covers, you grab yourself a glass of water and you drop it, and the glass shatters, and you lose your shit. Maybe you start crying, maybe you punch the wall. Now, the glass was probably $2. You got it at Target. It doesn't really matter that much to you, but it also doesn't matter how small that last demand was because you were out of adaptation energy. So your body reacts by going into fight or flight mode. It doesn't matter how much personal development you've done because you're only human. You have a human body, and that's how it works, no matter how many years of recovery you have. We don't act based on what we know. We act based on the baseline level of our nervous system. So you can have all the tools in the world and know all the techniques to do, but if you are out of adaptation energy, you're going into fight or flight mode, and that's just how it works. This is why consistency in self-care is so fucking important so that you can refuel your adaptation energy tank. Personally, my primary self-care is making consistent conscious contact with my higher power. And this word consistency is so important. One of my favorite quotes that has been super helpful to me both in recovery and as an entrepreneur is this: consistency in small things is no small thing. Now, maybe you got that, made sense to you right when you heard it, but maybe you didn't. And let me break that down just in case you didn't. So, consistency is one of the most difficult things for people, especially people in recovery, and especially for those who are new in recovery. So, being consistent at anything is no small thing, because when you can be consistent at anything, it will have a dramatic impact on your life. However, when you can be consistent with the teeny tiny little habits of your life, the impact on your life is exponential. So it's no small thing to have consistency in small things, because consistency itself is really difficult. And then consistency in those teeny tiny little daily habits is no small thing, because the impact is fucking ginormous. So if you brush your teeth twice a day, every single day, the impact on your dental health is going to be profound, as opposed to brushing your teeth every week or so. If you make consistent conscious contact with your higher power every morning and every night, it's going to open and close your day with you knowing I'm part of something greater than myself, feeling like you're not alone and that you're connected to something greater than yourself. Now, if you add another time of conscious contact in the middle of the day, then you're multiplying that consistent effort of your conscious contact and reminding yourself a third time a day, I'm not alone. Now, conscious contact with a higher power is only one form of so many kinds of self-care. It happens to be my favorite. I tend to think of self-care as what gives you energy. When you engage in self-care, you're trying to reduce or hopefully eliminate things that drain you and increase things that energize you. So for you, it might be meditation, yoga, running, painting, whatever gives you energy. And when you make sure to have tiny little bursts of these kinds of things consistently, that adds to the tank of your adaptation energy. It makes it so much easier for you to deal with the demands of life. Now, here's a personal example from just this week. It's about my laptop computer. Other than my brain, my computer is the most important tool in my life, especially for my business, because I run my business on my computer. Now, the hinge broke and the screen started separating from the body of the computer, so I had to take it in for repair. Now, luckily for me, I have a spare computer. It's like a 12-year-old Mac laptop that I have from when I worked at Yale, and they don't want it back because it's so old. So I'm lucky to have that. Yay! Well, I had a speaking engagement this week, and luckily for me, I decided ahead of time to make sure that this computer would connect with the projector, because I'm going to be projecting my PowerPoint presentation for this presentation. Well, the computer is so old that it will not connect to the projector. So I texted two friends who live near me and asked if they have a laptop I can borrow tomorrow night from 6 to 9 p.m. And again, luckily for me, one of them had a personal laptop that she almost never uses. So I went over and picked it up. Well, it didn't occur to me to ask her, hey, do you have an HDMI port so that I can connect the projector? And she didn't. So I had to go to the store and buy a cable that converted USB to HDMI. And that ended up working. And I was able to do my presentation just fine using my friend's borrowed computer. I didn't lose my shit through any of this. I didn't even get upset. I was like, well, this is what's happening. This is what life is like. I didn't take it personally. In years past, I would have lost my shit multiple times over this. When the computer broke in the first place, when I had to take it to the place to get repaired and they had to send it out and couldn't take care of it right there. When I realized my backup computer didn't work with the projector, when I found out that my friend's computer didn't have an HDMI adapter and I had to go to the store to get another one. Those are all times I would have lost it in the past, but I didn't. Instead, I decided to be grateful, which, by the way, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing gratitude fills my adaptation energy tank. And I've been filling it for over 20, actually almost 25 years by doing a consistent gratitude practice. So I was grateful that that afternoon I had things on my calendar that I could easily move to another day and didn't have to cancel appointments so that I could take care of all those things. I had lots of adaptation energy Most of the time I do because I make consistent conscious contact with my higher power, and I have other ways of fueling my adaptation energy tank. I meditate, I journal, I say affirmations. Lately, I have added laying on the couch in the middle of the day, watching Hallmark movies, not just at night. And I read for pleasure. I'm doing a lot more of that. This week, I started a new craft project, and all this stuff really matters. So when you think, I don't have time to rest, this whole episode should help you understand you don't have time to not rest, because the rapid pace of change we're experiencing is likely to grow even more, and you'll need that adaptation energy to thrive in an ever-changing world. All of this is why Mahatma Gandhi said that he needed to meditate for 2 hours a day rather than just his usual 1-hour day when things got really tough, because he knew he needed to fill his adaptation energy tank. And that's the truth for all of us. We are humans. We have bodies, and this is how they're programmed. You're a human being, not a human doing. You get to be at rest. You get to be relaxed. You get to be rejuvenated. You get to be energized. In the ACA program, we normally talk about the inner drugstore when we're referring to the chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline. But the inner drugstore also includes chemicals that make us feel good, like dopamine and serotonin. When we do things like meditate or snuggle up with people that we love, when we relax and have a good time, we're filling ourselves with the good inner drugs that enhance our adaptation energy. This is exceedingly important for people in recovery. Now, it's important for everybody, but if you're in recovery, this kind of practice will help you avoid relapse, because it's the buildup of stress and the feelings that come along with that are much more likely to make us snap and then relapse into whatever our addiction or compulsion is. So we have to learn to fuel our adaptation energy so we can live life on life's terms, because that's really the trick. Living life on life's terms, not your terms. My ideal clients are professional women who say yes when they really want to say no, and who neglect themselves because they're so focused on others. What I've found is that most professional women feel overwhelmed. You keep giving in to others and take on too much. You're afraid of disappointing others or being seen as selfish, so you don't say no. When you even think of setting boundaries, you get flooded with guilt and shame. The reality is that things will never improve until you stop putting everyone else first. To get the life and relationships you want, you have to stop ignoring yourself and start focusing internally. If this sounds like you, please sign up for a free 30-minute Better Boundaries call with me at barbchat.net. If you like this podcast, and I'm guessing you did because you're still listening, you will also love my weekly newsletter, Friday Fragments, which has short essays similar to the podcast. You can check it out at fridayfragments.news. That's fridayfragments.news. If you haven't already subscribed to my podcast on your favorite podcast outlet, please do that. It helps carry the message to more people. I started this podcast because there was so much wisdom in recovery that just wasn't making its way out into the world. So I want as many people as possible to hear it. I'd also love it if you'd leave a 5-star rating or a review, which you can do on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find it so they can get the benefits that you've gotten from listening. If someone in particular came to mind when you listen to this episode, please share it with them. And my favorite place to hang out on social media is Instagram. I'm at Higher Power Coaching. Please DM me there. I'd love to hear what you got from this episode. I run private and group coaching programs on building healthy boundaries. Whether you need help with boundaries in your personal, professional, or romantic life, I can help. Head on over to barbchat.net where you can get on my calendar for a free 30-minute Better Boundaries consultation. I also do short-term situational coaching to help people make it through specific situations they're going through, such as divorce, empty nesting, preparing for retirement, or any phase where their identity is shifting. Regardless of the type of coaching, my ideal client is someone who is ripe for change. If that's you, I'd love to work with you. My goal with all my work is to help you make lasting changes in your life, like I've made deep, lasting changes in my life. Remember, it's never too late to recover. No one is beyond hope, and healing is possible. Thanks for listening.